This is it, right? Thank you for coming. It's an honor, really an honor to be here today. So they tell a story about an old Jewish man who always wanted to own a Lamborghini. So one day he goes out and buys a Lamborghini, and he is driving down the highway with his wife. He's flying down the highway, and a cop chases him down, pulls him over, and the cop goes to the man in the front seat. He goes, "Sir, do you realize you're driving 105 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone?" And the man goes, "I'm so sorry, officer. I had no idea I was going so fast." And his wife sitting in the front seat goes, "Harry, you're just bragging about how fast you were going." He rolls his eyes. And then the cop says, "Sorry to tell you this, but I have to give you a ticket because you're not wearing a seatbelt. There's a law you have to wear a seatbelt." "I'm so sorry, officer. I always wear a seatbelt. I completely forgot." And his wife says, "Harry, you never wear a seatbelt." And his eyes roll and his face is getting red. And the officer says to the man, "Sir, I hate to tell you this, but your rear brake light is out. I'm going to have to give you a ticket for that also." He goes, "I'm so sorry, officer. I had no idea." And his wife in the front seat goes, "Harry, you've known about that for weeks." And the man in the front seat says, "Barbara, will you shut your mouth?" And the officer says to the woman, "Ma'am, does he always talk to you that way?" She says, "No, only when he's drunk." Thank you. I'll be here every Tuesday. You like that, right? So we're going to talk about the Lamb and the Lamborghini. Hopefully by the end of the class, you kind of understand why the class has this title. So what is the Passover? How is it possible that the Jews became slaves? And really, why did God take us out of Egypt? Is it possible that God saw something in us that maybe we couldn't see in ourselves? And why 10 plagues? Couldn't he just send one plague? Couldn't God just snap his finger? We could be sitting on Ben Yehuda Street, drinking mojitos and eating hummus and pita chips. He's God, for God's sake. And why the name Passover? Is that such a great name for the holiday? I mean, shouldn't it have really been called Independence Day or Survivor, Desert Edition? I mean, what's up with that? I know. I went to Hebrew school. I understand that God passed over our houses and didn't kill the Jewish firstborns and just the firstborns of the Egyptians. I understand that. But didn't God pass over us 9 other plagues? Weren't there 9 other plagues that God passed over us? Why do we focus in and zero in on this one plague? There must be more to the story, and we're going to delve into it. So let's look at the holidays. 4th of July, great American holiday. What do we do on the 4th of July? We have barbecues, we watch the fireworks. If the 4th of July was a Jewish holiday, after we threw tea into the river, we'd be taking bayonets and chasing Englishmen around. And then we have a big meal barbecue with matzo ball and gefilte fish. In Judaism, we relive the holidays. We don't just celebrate them. And they tell a story about Yasser Arafat. He had heard one day that there was a rabbi who could foresee the future. And he searched him out and he found him. And Yasser Arafat goes to the rabbi and goes, Rabbi, he goes, "Do you know what day I'm going to die?" And the rabbi says to him, "I really can't tell which day you're going to die, but it's going to be on a great Jewish holiday." And Yasser Arafat says to him, "What's Jewish holiday?" And the rabbi says, "Whichever day you die is going to be a great Jewish holiday." On the holiday of Sukkot, what do? We actually live in the sukkahs. We dwell in the sukkahs like we did in the desert. The holiday Shavuos, we retell the story of the 10 Commandments. And in merit of that, we actually learn all night. And the holiday of Passover, we tell the story of us leaving Egypt, going from slavery to freedom, and we eat the same matzah and maror we ate 3,000 years ago. But there's a problem with this because, see, we've read the whole script. We know the story. We saw the beginning, the middle, and the end. We know what happened. It's like going to the movies when you've read the book. It never meets your expectations. So how can we connect to something from 3,000 years ago where we know the ending of the story? Now, the Seders can be rote and uninspiring unless you can connect to it. So what we're going to learn today is that the story of Passover is not just a story about today, 3,000 years ago, it's a story about today. It's about breaking free of your limitations, becoming the person that you become, reaching your potential, and achieving the greatness that's inside each one of us. So we're going to have to go back 3,000 years to that night when God passed over our house. You have to understand, we didn't live in 5,000 square foot mansions on half-acre lots in gated communities. Like that, you can't hear a neighbor scream. We probably lived in small huts right on top of each other. And when we heard our neighbors screaming, when parents saw their firstborn dying, and we heard those screams, even if we had complete clarity that we knew that God was going to pass over our house, we had complete faith in God and weren't worried at all, it still has to be unnerving to hear the screams of your neighbor's children. And for all you know, it's the Egyptians going around killing the Jews because maybe they're upset that we happen to take their lamb and tie it up for 5 days and then kill it and eat it. Maybe they're coming out for revenge. See, it wasn't until after midnight when the screaming subsided and we realized that God chose us. That's the feeling you want to get at the Seder, that God chose us, that we are a part of a special people. And the idea of being part of a special nation, of special people, is the key to achieving your potential. Imagine you're an orphan in an orphanage, and there's hundreds of kids, and a young couple comes in, beautiful young couple, dressed beautifully, and they're looking for a child to bring home. And all the kids are raising their hand, pick me, pick me. They pick me, and they go through dozens and dozens of kids, and they come over and they pick you. You're excited. They take you home. They show you a beautiful bedroom, your own bed you don't have to share. In the morning, they make you a wonderful breakfast. They take you to the finest school where you're safe. The teachers show a lot of respect for you, and they take you on family vacations. How do you feel? You feel like $1 million. That's the feeling that you want to feel like on Passover. The fact that God chose us. My kids, they wake up every single morning, and thank God I like to cook. I used to be a pizza chef back in college, and I enjoy cooking. I like making things for my family. I always make food for my family. I tell my kids, what do you have for breakfast? They can have bagels with lox and cream cheese. They can have sunny side up egg. They can have scrambled eggs with onions, whatever they want. Croissant with chocolate. See, they should be waking up every single morning and thinking to themselves, I live at the Four Seasons. I live in a 5-star resort. This is like Gan Eden. We see they don't know any different because this is all they know. And until we can connect the fact that God chose us, that we're part of a special nation, that's what we want to feel like, that we are special. There's a story about a famous giant scientist who gets on an airplane and he sits down next to this very simple man. And as time goes on, the scientist is getting tired, getting bored. So he says to this simple man, he goes, you want to play a game? And the guy says, sure. He goes, how about this? I'll ask you a question. If you get it wrong, you give me $5. If you ask me a question and I get it wrong, I'll give you $100. And the simple man says, sure, I'll play. So the scientist asks him a question. He goes, how many miles is it from Earth to the sun? And the simple man sits there and he thinks, he goes, I don't know, because I thought I knew this answer. I just don't know. He goes, here's $5. And the scientist says, thank you. And the simple man says, okay, I have a question for you. What do you call an animal that walks up the hill with 4 legs and walks down with 3 legs? And the scientist is like, I don't know. I'm thinking, I just don't know. Because I don't know the answer. Here's $100. And the simple man says, thank you. So the scientist says to the simple man, he goes, well, what's the answer? And the simple man goes, I don't know. Here's $5. So our story is going to start 3,000 years ago. We're going to go back to ancient Egypt. When God says to the Jewish people, I want you to take this lamb. I want you to tie it up for 5 days, shecht it, roast it, and I want you to eat it. But when you're done with it, the leftovers, I want you to burn. Now, at first glance, you might not think much of it. What do we do on Thanksgiving? We have a turkey, we have leftovers. Friday morning, we go out for Black Friday, we go shopping, we come home, and we have a turkey sandwich or turkey soup. Here's Egypt. We are leaving for good. We are going into the desert. There's no mall there. Wouldn't you think God would say, make some shawarma and matzo sandwiches and have yourself a nice day? No, he says to burn the leftover lamb. Why? The lamb was an idol in Egypt. It wasn't because we like lamb chops better than we like T-bone steaks. Because the lamb was an idol. And God said, you want to be a free people? You want to be free? You have to burn the idols in your life. The lamb was an idol in Egypt, and the Jews had started worshiping idols. Freedom, we think of freedom as the ability to do what you want when you please, which is not quite true. Freedom is the ability to reach your potential. And that's the key point. God says, you want to be free? You want to reach your potential? Get rid of the idols in your life. The idols today, though, might not be Buddha statues and lamps. We have idols today. Houses, cars, money, fashion, power, sports, politics, the list goes on. These things that we have keep us from reaching our potential. We put so much time and effort into them. So how do we become slaves? How is it possible that Jew, as us, we became slaves? So we came down from Egypt, we came down from Canaan, 70 people, and we do like we do in every single country we go. We start at the lowest of the totem pole, and we rise up the ladder of economy, of our status. We become the doctor, we become the lawyers, we become the sports owners. We don't become the athletes, we become the sports owners. But you see, in America, like we own football teams and basketball teams, in Egypt, they didn't have those. So we owned the mummy wrapping and the camel racing. This is what we do. We rise up. And as we grew from a nation of 70 people to over 3 million, Pharaoh got very nervous. See, he was worried that we would become what's called the fifth column. The fifth column is a nation that resides within the nation. And if they get attacked, they can attack from within and take over the nation. We saw this here in World War II. When Japan attacked us, what did we do? We put them in detention camps because we were worried about the fifth column. Same thing, nothing different. It's 3,000 years later. So Pharaoh decided something. He said, we're going to do something called a day of community service. We're going to go out and build these cities because the Jews have this tendency that they always want to do the right thing. Anytime you see something with the poor, the homeless, or helping the environment, or helping whatever it is, a Jew's behind it. If Governor Hogan said, we're going to have a day of community service, and we're going to go clean up the Potomac River, and thousands of people came, how many of them do you think would be Jews? I've heard anywhere from 50 to 90%. No one said 10 or 20%, which is what our population is here. I don't know if it's 10 or 20%. No one has said it. Everyone said 50, 60, 70, 80%. Because this is our tendency to do the right thing. And Pharaoh said, you want to build these cities? It's a day of community service. All the Egyptians will come out. Pharaoh's going to come out. All the generals are going to come out. And they did. And they started working on bricks. But eventually the generals stopped coming. Pharaoh stopped coming. And they put in quotas on us. They say, Daniel, how many bricks you built today? You go, I built 3. Tomorrow you're building 4. And the next day 5. And the next thing you knew, you were enslaved. You see, slavery happens very, very slowly. And sometimes we don't realize we're being enslaved. January 30th, 1933, Hitler came to power. If Hitler says, his name be erased, if he said 1933, I'm going to put all the Jews in the gas chambers and kill them, what would have happened? We would have fought back. We would have left the country. We would have tried to overtake him. We would have done something. But he didn't do that. You know what he did? He slowly enslaved us. First took away our rights, then made us wear Jewish stars, then put us in ghettos, and then finally, eventually, he put us into concentration camps. If you take a frog and put him in a pot of boiling water, you know what he's going to do? He's going to jump out. But you take that same frog and put him in a pot of cold water and slowly raise up the heat, you know what's going to happen?
Frog soup.
He's going to die because he doesn't know he's enslaved. He doesn't know the pot of soup is boiling. We have to ask ourselves that question. Are we slowly becoming enslaved to something and don't really realize it? Really, that's the whole idea. That's what happened to us in Egypt, and that happens to us today. So I'm going to give you a few ideas, a few things that I was enslaved to in life. So the first is, back in 1988, for those that don't know me, I'm a rare coin dealer. I travel the country buying and selling rare United States coins. I was in California, and I met a bunch of guys who were like my age, in early 20s, and a buddy of mine just bought a brand new Cabriolet 911 Porsche convertible, and it was gorgeous. 1988, I'm like, oh, I love this car. And I said, whenever you sell it, I'd love to buy it. So about 7 years later, he calls me, I want to sell a car. I bought it. I had it shipped from Boise to Phoenix to Charlotte and then to Springfield, Virginia. And I had this beautiful Porsche 911 convertible in my garage. It was gorgeous. But what happens is, you go down to the garage to drive it, the battery dies. Then the alarm goes off in the middle of the night. Then the air conditioning doesn't work. Then the tire breaks. Whatever it is, and every time you bring it in, it's not like going to Jiffy Lube, where they charge you $69. It's, oh, you want to want $1,000. Oh, chip paint, $1,000. Broken tire, every time you won, it was $1,000. Now, I enjoyed the car. It was nice. But you know what I figured out? The best part about owning that Porsche was the anticipation of owning the Porsche. The best part of the Porsche was the anticipation of owning the Porsche. It was an idol to me. I grew up in the DC area. My father used to watch football. I used to watch football.